So in my previous video, I exposed, or I should say, Jack Engelhardt exposed the World Council of Churches as the enemies of the elect, namely Israel. And if you want to do this, Google World Council of Churches blame Israel, and you will see a long list. Algemeiner, NGO Monitor, Religious News, and others like GatesOnlineInstitute.org point out all the crimes of bias by the World Council of Churches against Israel. It's a long list. I will go to the Gatestone Institute one, and this is by Thomas Smith. And it says, World Council of Churches demonizes Israel again. Does the German Protestant Church know what it is doing? Usually in regular Lenten services, solemn memorials of divine mercy on the sinners of the world take center stage for Christians. But not in this liturgy. Center stage was instead given to committing a sin of evil speech, launching a lie about Israeli-made water shortages suffered by Palestinians. The lie is a sin in which all members of the churches of the World Council of Churches are invited to participate. Those leaders of Protestant churches turned into political propagandists used the pulpit of Jerusalem unjustly to call upon the Protestant faithful worldwide to listen to Palestinian water libels against the state of Israel. This liturgy abused the biblical readings as a means of invigorating the equally false Kairos Palestine message that Israel takes the land of Palestine and has no right to be where it is. A close look shows no scientific analysis, neither of the water disputation nor of water politics for the territories of Israel and the Palestinian Authority. The Palestinians certainly are experiencing a water crisis. The question is, to what extent are they themselves are responsible for it, and to what extent are their own leaders responsible for keeping them as victims for effective international marketing. So on February 10, on Ash Wednesday in the Western Christian calendar, Ash Wednesday is the day that the Christians put the mark of the beast on their forehead. Yes, I said that. I'll say it again. Ash Wednesday is when the Christians put the mark of the beast on their forehead. So on February 10th, Ash Wednesday on the Western Christian calendar, the Palestinian Lutheran Bishop Munib Yonan, on behalf of the World Council of Churches, launched the Lenten campaign of the Ecumenical Water Network, entitled 7 Weeks for Water. It was presented at the German Lutheran Church of the Redeemer in the Old City of Jerusalem. Yunan, a yes signatory / no signatory of the infamous document published by Kairos Palestine, in 2009 was flanked by other well-known supporters of Palestinian agitation against Israel. The Archbishop of Sweden, the General Secretary of the World Council of Churches, the current Secretary General of Kairos, Palestine, and the coordinator of the Ecumenical Water Network. It was an impressive group of seasoned activists for Palestine who gathered for a 10-page prefabricated liturgy during an hour-long church service. The few people in the pews were to be sensitized about an alleged injustice to the Palestinian people, the supposed deprivation of rightful quantities of water by supposedly evil Israelis in order to bring some action into the otherwise flow of distorted information. Each participant got a cross of ash on his forehead, the mark of the beast on his forehead. Possibly one of the few remnants of the Christian custom of Lent. In regular Lent services for 7 weeks until Easter, which Easter being the false goddess, Queen of Heaven, that the pagans still worship. Solemn memories of divine mercies on the sinners of the world take center stage for Christians, but not in this liturgy. Center stage was instead given solemnly to committing a sin of evil speech, launching a lie by Israeli-made water shortage suffered by Palestinians, a sin that all present were invited to commit daily for the next 7 weeks, a sin in which all the members of the churches of the world, the WCC, are invited to participate. Those leaders of the Protestant churches turned into political propagandists without even a hindrance, using the pulpit of Jerusalem unjustly to call upon the Protestant faithful worldwide to listen to Palestinian water libels against the state of Israel. This liturgy abused the biblical readings as means of invigorating the equally false Kairos Palestine message that Israel takes the land of Palestine and has no right to be where it is. The WCC acolytes who gathered at the Redeemer Church are now set up to spread this propaganda through a confusing network of seemingly distinct organizations, all of which turn out on closer inspection to be WCC subsidiaries. This is a long read, so I won't finish it, but you get the gist. So, once again, I'm going to name names. I had it before. I'll try to see if I can find it again. Okay. The World Council of Churches, the WCC, its members today include the Anglican Communion, the Assyrian Church of the East, most jurisdictions of the Eastern Orthodox Church, which means all of the Russian Orthodox churches, the Old Catholic Church, the Oriental Orthodox churches, and most Protestant churches such as Lutheran, Mennonite, not to be confused with Amish Mennonite. The Amish Mennonite and the Mennonite have nothing to do with each other. Methodist, Moravian, and Reformed, and some evangelical Protestant churches such as the Baptist Church and Pentecostals are all a part of this wicked, satanic, serpentine organization. Notably, the Roman Catholic Church is not a member, although it sends accredited observers to meetings. In other words, they still participate. But it was the Catholic Church, after all, who started this whole thing. Was it not? Now, let me tell you what Yeshua, Messiah, is going to do. Matthew 25. Verse 31. When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then he shall sit upon the throne of his glory. What is his glory? It is the throne of David in Jerusalem. He will be king in the city of Jerusalem, of the house of Judah and all the house of Israel. And what he is going to do, he's going to do this in verse 32. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king, the Messiah, say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared. So he's going to let them in the kingdom. Come on in. You're one of us. Into the kingdom of Israel. That's right. Why? Why is he going to do this? Verse 36. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. And then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and gave you to drink? When did we see you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when saw we you sick or in prison or in a concentration camp and came unto you? And the king shall say to them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it to one. That's right. Inasmuch as you have done it to one of the least of these my brethren, you have done it unto me. Now, in a previous video, I went over Romans 11, did I not? Who are Yeshua's brethren? Let's refresh our memory, shall we? All right. Verse 16 says, If the first fruit is holy, then the lump which is Israel is also holy. He is warning the Gentiles about persecuting the Jews. And if the root, the Messiah, is holy, then so are the branches holy. So now the question is, now he's talking to the nations, which are the Gentiles. Let's go back. Make sure everyone understands. Verse 31 of Matthew 25, When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, and he shall sit upon his throne, the throne of David of glory, and before him shall be gathered all nations. That's all the ethnos, or the goyim. Race, a nation, the nations as distinct from Israel, or a part. In other words, a nation that is not Israel. So these are specifically the Gentiles he is talking about. So he's going to bring all the nations, all the Gentiles, before him. He's going to pick out the ones who fed and clothed and visited and helped those persecuted of the branches. Because you see, if the root is holy, then so are the branches. Therefore, Messiah's brethren are the Jews and Israel. So, he is inviting these Gentiles. Who are these people? Maybe I should spell some of them out for you today. A very fine example of this are the righteous among the Gentiles. I will go to Wikipedia and read this. Righteous among the nations is an honorific used by the state of Israel to describe non-Jews who risked their lives during the Holocaust to save Jews from extermination by the Nazis. Now, there is a database. I don't know if I can find it's incredible. There's a long list. I don't even know where to start here, folks. How do I put that? Well, here's what I'll do. I'll try to come up with some names here if this site will move. Okay. So this the Yad Vashem website. I mean, you can spend days, weeks, and months and years probably in this website. But I will go to the soldiers, policemen, and officials. So what they're saying is, in order to perpetrate the murder of 6 million Jews, it was necessary to enlist the cooperation of different state institutions. Many of those involved were, so they claimed, professionals merely doing their job. Only a small minority mustered the necessary courage and honesty to recognize the real significance of what they were doing, or what they were required to do, and decided to defy their superiors and orders and instructions. Now, I see a list here, and I see one that says British POWs. And this is not the list of the British POWs, it's just there's another whole list of British POWs that it's not being listed right here, but you can click the site and you can look it. So below the British POWs, but not British POWs, are Raoul Laporterier. I'm sorry about my pronunciation. Gilbert Lesage, Trajan Popovici, Paul Gruninger, Sean Philippe, Sean Defoe, Henk Drocht, Dimitar Peshev, Camille, Ernst, Anton Schmidt, Francis Foley, George Ferdinand Duckwitz, Dr. Hans George Kallmeyer, Dr. Albert Patel, Roddy Edmonds. And apparently, when you click on each one of those, they have their own story about what they did. So the British prisoners, In 1972, Sarah Hannah Rigler was reunited with her rescuers in London. This is so that the men that were named of the British rescuers were Stan Wells, George Hammond, Tommy Noble, Alan Edwards, Roger Letchford, Bill Keeble, Bert Hamling, Bill Scrunton, Jack Buckley, and Willie Fisher. This is the extraordinary story about how British prisoners of war saved the life of one 16-year-old girl, Sarah Mattison, later Hannah Sarah Rigler, were among the inmates of Stutthof concentration camp who, in January 1945, were taken to a death march headed toward the Baltic Sea. The group of 1,200 women, including her sister Hannah and her mother, Gita, were staggering in the snow, dressed in rags with only wooden clogs on their feet, with no food, and under the heavy blows of the SS guards. No, remember what I said, no food. Okay? I'm going to try to make this as realistic as I can, the words of Yeshua, and match them with what happened in the not-so-distant past. Hundreds of women perished on the way, and only about 300 reached the village of Gros Golden Kaiu in Poland, 30 kilometers south of Gdansk. Sarah's family was from Lithuania. Before she was born, her parents had gone to Palestine, where her sister Hannah was born in 1925. But their immigration to Palestine did not work out for them, and the family moved back to Lithuania, not knowing what the future had in store for them and for Europe's Jews. They settled in Shavli, where their second daughter Sarah was born in 1928. Sarah's father was arrested with a group of other Jews soon after the German occupation. In the end of June 1941, he was never seen again. The mother and two daughters were forced into the ghetto. Despite the difficult conditions and continued killing operations, they managed to survive until summer 1944, when they were taken to the remaining Jews of Shavli to the Stutthof concentration camp. As the Soviet army approached, they were taken on the death march. Seeing the hopelessness of their situation, Sarah's mother pleaded with her daughter to try and escape. It was a painful decision to leave her mother, but finally Sarah decided to try and find some food for them. She succeeded to leave the line of the prisoners unnoticed and found refuge in a barn where she collapsed. It was here that she was found by a group of British prisoners of war. Stan Wells, who was working on Mrs. Miller's farm, he belonged to a group of British prisoners of war who had been captured in 1940 in France, who were transferred to the east, interned in a camp close to the Baltic coast, where they were engaged in various tasks in the German farms in the area, finding Sarah, who was starved and totally exhausted. Wells first gave her some food. "I was hungry, and you gave me meat." And then brought her to the other prisoners wrapped in an old army coat. "I was naked, and you clothed me." Shocked by her poor physical condition, they decided to help her. They smuggled Sarah into their prisoner of war camp, Stalag 20B in Gros Kolmkau, where they hid her in a hayloft. In view fragile state, they took turns in caring for her. They brought food, tended her frostbite, applied paraffin to her hair against lice, bathed her, and nursed her back to health. The danger of discovery was great. Just outside their living quarters was a police station. The horses used by the police were housed in the very same barn, and Sarah was hidden in the hayloft above the horses. However, soon the British POWs were also to be moved. On the eve of their evacuation into Germany, Sarah's British benefactors arranged for a local woman to take care of Sarah until the arrival of the Red Army. After liberation, Sarah found out that she was the only survivor of her family. She eventually settled in the United States. In memory of her sisters, she added the name Hannah to her own. For many years she tried to find her rescuers, but only 25 years after the war was ended, was she able to locate them and renew the contact. Sarah Hannah Rigler, the sole survivor of her family, commemorated the names of her father, mother, sister, 2 uncles, 4 aunts, 4 cousins who were killed in the Holocaust on pages of testimony at Yad Vashem. On November 2nd, 1988, Yad Vashem recognized Stan Wells, George Hammond, Tommy Noble, and Alan Edwards as righteous among the nations. On March 15, 1989, Yad Vashem recognized Roger Ledgeford as righteous among the nations. On 11th of October 2011, Yad Vashem recognized Bill Keeble, Bert Hambling, Bill Scruton, Jack Buckley, and Willie Fisher as righteous among the nations. Now, that is one of many. Let us read again, shall we? Then shall verse 34, Matthew 25, then shall the king say to them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you. That's right, prepared for these Gentiles who did the right thing by the Jews from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. This little girl was all of those things that Yeshua says. And they gave her all of those things which was required. Therefore, I have faith and confidence. I hold both hands up in the air, knowing that all those men who participated in saving her will be entered into the kingdom, will be invited in, will be brought in, will be honored. Verse 41, and when all of those Gentiles who participated in such things for the Jews, then he shall say unto them on his left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire. The word everlasting is age long, fire, and that fire has several meanings. One is fire, and the other one is trial, tribulation. For I was hungry, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you did not take me in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick and in prison, and you visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Master, when did we see you hungry, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto you? Then he shall say, Verily, I say unto you, insomuch as you did not do it to a single one of the least of these, you did it not unto me. And these shall go away into age-long punishment. That word punishment is 2851 kolasis, which means correction. So you see, folks, the shoe becomes on the other foot. Those who helped the Jews out of the concentration camps, who fed them in their time of tribulation, those who had mercy on Israel in the time of Israel's tribulation, those Gentiles will be spared from tribulation. But the righteous unto life eternal. Now, as I said, there are many. One that comes to mind is Albert Goring, a sinner. But when it came time to do this, when it came time to step up and do the right thing, he did it with everything that his body was able to do. So he has his place in the kingdom set in stone. Righteous among the nations. I would strongly suggest everyone to read Righteous Among the Nations and their stories. It will take until you are old and ready to perish before you have read all the stories. Every one of those, they are written in the book of life. They will enter into the kingdom. That's guaranteed by Matthew 25. And do not get this idea in your head that the least of the brethren are somehow not referring to Jews. I just proved that they were in Romans 11. So, World Council of Churches, you are on the wrong side. You stand with the goats, and you will reap what you sow.